And we are live. Good morning, Real Closers. We're back every Monday, Power Hour. And today we're going part two on what we started discussing last week, which is how to get free leads from Facebook. Can you get free leads from Facebook? What does it take to get free leads from Facebook, right? If you want that, just add it to the comments. I don't know if I told you, right? We've already talked about this. We have a Real Closers channel on YouTube that I'm adding all these interviews to.
Absolutely. I see them. I see it come up for me. I see them.
So find it. If you want last week's recording, just go to YouTube and search for @Real Closers. It's a new handle. You'll find it. See what we talked about last week. And today we're going to continue that conversation today. And then next week, we're going to go through part 3 on how to get free leads from Facebook. So what do we do now, Gustavo?
No, it's a good conversation. We had some good interaction last week. So there was some interest there, right? So there was some interest. People had some very, very specific questions. I liked it because people were asking questions about execution. Hey, how do I do it this way? What do I do here? What do I do there? So I love those questions because people are actually doing things and they're running into an issue and they're asking for clarification. We're happy to jump in. Roberto jumped in, I jumped in. So drop questions, folks, drop questions, right? In summary, the 1-minute summary we talked about last week is one of the best ways to generate leads is with your Facebook profile, right? By doing a lot of very tactical steps like your profile picture, your cover photo, and the content you put on your personal profile, okay? Not talking about your business page, not talking about paid ads. I'm not talking about any of that. This is specifically your personal Facebook profile and kind of the mindset and ideas for content around that, right? So, and that's something, that I practice myself. Although nowadays, I do way more content in the area we're talking about today, okay? Today, we're going to talk about generating leads for free on Facebook with one magical term, and this is magic, absolute magic, and it is Facebook groups, okay? Really, really important topic, and I'm going to wind people back. I talked about this a little bit last week, but I didn't go in depth. I remember it was the early 2020. People remember that, right? March of 2020. Actually, this is February of 2020. I was in a coaching program and my coach was hardcore. You got to make your Facebook group. Because I had a lot of leads. I was generating a lot of interest, but I wasn't like putting people like specifically into groups, right? Or I wasn't frequenting a lot of groups. And he said, you got to go all in on groups. And I go, groups are like for grandmas. They go and fight about stuff. It's about buying and selling stuff. Groups aren't really that interesting. And, because I was in that program, he basically forced me to do it. And I was going to go to a mastermind session and go, you know what? Before I got on the plane, I said, I'm going to make this group tonight because I'm not going to get to my mastermind without my stupid group made, right? So I got in there and I invited the first 30 people from my friends list. Boom. I arrived at this mastermind. I've made my group, coach. There's 20 people in there. It's fine. And I proceeded to do nothing with that group. This was February of 2020, okay? I proceeded to do basically nothing with that group for the next month or two, but then something interesting happened, guys. March of 2020, the bomb went off, right? And you guys remember what this was. The NBA canceled their season, the NCAA, and then baseball, and then then things were shutting down. And then, it was going nuts. Within a span of 5 to 10 days, honestly, the world changed, right? It was a big shift. And I was left with, well, I can't go to any more events, can't go to any conferences, right? A lot of my clients were shut down. I said, well, now what do I do? And I said, okay, there's a couple of things I can do. I can hunker down, pretend nothing's happening, go to business, right? Or I can try and create content any which way I can to just try to add value to my audience, right? I said, I'm going to double down and let's see what I can do. I went all in on my newsletter, right? I had a newsletter that I was sending 1 or 2 newsletters a month at that point, okay? 1 to 2 newsletters a month. And I had a Facebook group that I barely used. And I was a member of several Facebook groups, but I wasn't like a power user there, I really wasn't. And I said, well, I'm going to be here locked in all day, all month, all year, maybe, I don't know, right? So I had to go all in. And one of the things I did, Roberto, that basically saved my business was that I went all in on my Facebook group, started adding a ton of people every single day. And I went live on my Facebook group every single day. And the first few weeks, it was very easy to come up with topics. We were just talking about the pandemic. That was it. I told people, this was the first topic of my first probably 20 lives, almost a whole month, the first month, middle of March to the middle end of April, right? This is when things were just the hardest. And I went live every single day talking about what I would do right now if I were an active real estate agent. That was it. That was the topic. Sometimes it was a 5-minute live. Sometimes it was a 15, 20-minute live. I would just go live every single day. And then I'd grab that content, I'd link to it and drop it in my newsletter. That's what I did every single day for about a month, okay? And my Facebook group blew up, okay? It went from 10, 15, 20 people in February to like 300 or 400 or 500 people by the middle of April. And then now I'm in a group, my group is about 5,000 people, right? That's 2 years later. But initially I only had a few hundred people in that group, right? And it just grew and grew and grew and grew from there. And people got to know me, people got to know, like, and trust me. And it helped save my business. Quite frankly, helped save my business, because yes, some agents, some places were shut down. There was nothing else to do. They were just watching me to watch something, but some people were active in the business, right? And when they needed help, they thought of me, right? Because I was there adding value to them every single day, literally every single day, right? So that was one of the turning points in my business, my personal story. So I'm huge about Facebook groups. I'm massive on Facebook groups. And there's 2 ways that you can do lead generation with Facebook groups, 2 main ways. Number 1 is through other people's Facebook groups, okay? Other people's Facebook groups. Join this is my recommendation to anyone like new in the business. Join every single Facebook group that's local to your area. That's a big piece. Local to your area or related to your area. By related, I mean, you might be living in an area. Let's say you live in, I don't know, Spokane, Washington, Boise, Idaho. There's a lot of groups in Spokane and Boise, but there's a ton of people wanting to move there because of remote work, because the coast is too expensive, they're moving inland. There's a lot of people thinking of moving there. So there's two types of groups you can join. The groups of people that are living there, doing stuff every day, and the types of people that want to move there, okay? So there's 2 types of groups you can actually be interested in. And me as a real estate agent, working right now, I would join any single one of these groups as possible. And I really like Facebook groups. I tried replicating this strategy with LinkedIn groups. I don't know if you use those, Roberto, LinkedIn groups. You don't get nearly the amount of interaction you get on the Facebook groups. I don't know if that's changed recently.
It's a different crowd. It's a different crowd, yeah.
It's a very different crowd. The LinkedIn, the actual, the news page, the wall, the news feed, that one is a better bet. But the groups, for whatever reason, on LinkedIn, just not much interaction. There's always some person hawking a product, promoting something, and the group is just dead, right? Anytime you create a Facebook group with the sole intention of selling to people, no one wants to be in that group, okay? No one wants to be in that group. You don't want to be in that group either, right? So you have to look for Facebook groups that have engagement, interactions, at least 1 or 2 posts every day. And when people post something, they give you some likes, there's some comments going on, right? You have no idea how sad it is for me to open up a Facebook group, apparently has 3,000 members, and the only person posting for the last month is the group owner. And all they're doing is promoting their ebook or their course or their product or their whatever. And I'm like, this is dead. This is there's a lot of people in there, and there's ways to get people into groups, right? I mean, yeah, that's why as they say, the old adage says, size doesn't really matter in these cases, right? It's better to get engagement than get massively large Facebook groups. You don't need that. But I would join garage selling groups. I would join PTA groups. I would join school, community, local business groups. Also, there's a lot of groups, especially in the medium to larger cities, of people that are new arrivals there, right? Arriving there new, looking to renters groups, people looking to move there, commuter groups, all these different kinds of groups that are there. You should be a member of each and every one of them, because a lot of these groups, and a lot of them, people ask questions related to real estate, but they don't ask, hey, who wants to help me buy a home? That's not what they ask, okay? That's not like a real thing. But they will ask stuff about the school district. They'll ask stuff about the commute. They'll ask things about living there, about the best restaurants, the best place to go out, the best parks, the best dog parks in a specific area, right? They're going to ask a lot of questions that aren't come and help me buy a home, but it's going to be, I want to know something about that area. Or especially they're massive rental groups, by the way, right? As rents have gone up, man, there's these massive rental focused Facebook groups about people wanting to find affordable housing, affordable rentals, or not even affordable, available rentals in a lot of these areas, right? One of my clients and a good buddy of mine Rob Thompson. You should have him on. Roberto, have you had him on yet? Rob Thompson? He's
Not,
an agent
not
out of
yet.
Colorado Springs. He is a guru. He is a master at this Facebook group prospecting strategy. I did it myself, but for my business, Power ISA, he did it for specifically for real estate, okay, for real estate. And all he did, and all I've done, is be a resource to people, okay? Be a resource. When I was, was locked down in the pandemic, I would join about, I would say about a dozen different Facebook groups. I didn't do 100, like a dozen really, really active engagement-filled Facebook groups. And every day I would open them on my cell phone. I'd sort by new posts, not just the hottest, most engaging ones. No. Every day I look at all the new posts and I'd see, how can I help this person out? How can I help that person out? How can I add value to this person, right? Because I'm a real estate agent. I am an area expert around, people that need contractors, people that have questions about utilities, people that have questions about solar panels, people that have questions about title, about mortgages, about, school districts, about commute times, about all those things. You might not know it, but you're an expert in those things, okay? You know what this is about. And you should always have your pulse on the market, because in some of these groups, and I love this, by the way. Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, good. Yeah, saw a message come up. Anyway, so you're gonna love this. There's a lot of hot takes on the market right now. So many hot takes. So many people not even know what they're talking about. They see a headline and they're repeating the headline they saw on the New York Times, on CNN, MSNBC. Oh my God, is this? And we talked about this. The favorite question of the media: is this crash worse than 2008? Or no, is this crash like 2008, or is it worse, right? That's the question they love to ask. And people love to repeat these things. Don't buy. The market's crashing right now. And you can be the other point of view, okay? But do not go all in attacking these folks. People don't want to see that. They want to see data, okay? People are coming with their opinions. You can bring the data and the perspective, and then you're going to see you as an authority, okay? Because if you go in there and just fight with people about how the market's amazing and they're seeing something different, you don't want to be that person. You do want to be the person that brings perspective. Well, Mr. Potential Buyer, 87 homes were sold yesterday in this area. So, prices are adjusting. We're getting to a more balanced market, but this is not a market crash, right? I wouldn't call this a crash. I lived through 2008. 2008 was a crash. This is not a crash, right? At least not yet, right? In our area. So I would talk about that. But you always have to be someone that's giving local perspective to these national headlines. And there's always people talking about the market. Is it good? Is it bad? Is it crashing? Is it not? Provide value, educate people, right? Show them the data, show them the actual information. Don't get carried away with a headline they made in LA or New York, right? You tell them what's going on locally in your area, and they'll see you as a resource, okay? And they go, wow, Gus really knows what the hell he's talking about. So on these Facebook groups, I would be talking about converting leads, setting appointments, lead generation, ISAs, training them, hiring them, managing them, objection handling, dialers, data sources, right? What to do, a do not call list, all these different topics that I knew a little bit about, and a lot of people knew nothing about. I would answer the question. I would be the resource. I would provide the value. And then people would look me up. They'd see my profile. Remember, they're always looking at your profile. And the top call to action in my profile.
We may have lost Gus.
My back or my gun. So I'm seeing you frozen.
All right, if you guys can still hear me, let's quickly wrap this.
Oh,
can you still hear me?
I can hear. I never stopped hearing you, but you probably stopped hearing me.
Oh, you know what? It's my internet. So go ahead. Just yeah.
Okay, cool. I'll keep going. Then we should be live in the group. So, anyways, the biggest thing that I saw was, a lot of people would see my Facebook profile. They'd see my profile, and my call to action was join my group. Join my group. That was my goal. Get as many people into my personal Facebook group as possible, where I would talk about all these things, right? Lead conversion, lead generation. It was called my marketing mastermind. It was a marketing mastermind group. Let's mastermind around real estate marketing. Whoever wants to talk about that, join my group. And since early 2020, it's been 2.5 years, 5,000 people in my Facebook group, and we get engagement every single day in that Facebook group, right? We get multiple posts a day. Every time we post, there's comments, there's likes, there's rebuttals, there's people fighting it out. I mean, it's a debate, right? That's fine. It's okay. As long as it doesn't get too toxic, I'm fine with it, right? So that's a great way to get people to join your own group, is to add value to another group, right? And then if they want more information, hey, you can join my group. If I were a real estate agent, I would make a Facebook. So that's the first way, adding value to different Facebook groups. That's the first strategy. The second strategy is to have your own Facebook group, okay? Your own Facebook group. What should it be about? It shouldn't be about buying and selling homes in this town, okay? That's what it should not be about. You got to pick a topic, right? I would go with something that I know a lot about, and that could be sports. That can be, relocating to this area, helping people that are new to the area, helping people that are new renters to the area. It doesn't matter. Relocating because of work, relocating. If I were in Seattle right now, I would make a Facebook group, and I actually did this for a long time through my alumni organization, alumni that relocated to that area, because my school was outside the US. So my alumni organization, I made the Facebook group. I made it. It was by default relocating people. So my first 3 years in the business, that Facebook group and those connections helped me close 100 deals, right? My first 3 years. But I did this unknowingly, though. I will say that I didn't set out to do this. I'd be in real estate years later. So I'm going to be honest. But if I were starting over again, I would make a Facebook group to my niche. Recent immigrants moving to that area, right? Because that's what I know a ton about. I knew a ton about visas and tax questions and banking issues, everything you're going to run into. So most Americans have no idea what this means, right? What do you mean you can't get a credit card? Well, no, because you have no credit history, right? There's this funny thing banks used to do where they give you $500 of credit, but you had to leave a deposit of $500 in the bank account. You got a credit card now. That's great. You need that to start, right? So little things like that, right? So I'd add a ton of value to people that were coming in, because I would do this socially. I'd go to a party, I'd meet a bunch of newbies that just got there, and I'd help them avoid the same mistakes I made, when I had arrived initially, right? So you're doing this all the time. If you find yourself being the source of information for your NFL, fantasy league, for your PTA meeting, for the parents, for the teachers, for the kids, for the single adults out there, looking for something. So be that resource for people in a Facebook group, okay? It doesn't have to be real estate related. It doesn't have to be. The content just has to be interesting, has to be good. So it better be something you know something about, okay? It can be a local business, buy local, eat local, local dog parks, local activities. One of the things that's so lacking in a lot of these areas, Roberto, is it's hard to find activities for families, for example, right? You're living in the suburbs, you're tired of going to the same 3 parks every weekend. What other things are there out there? Parents are busy, they're working, maybe both parents are working. The weekend comes, what the hell do we do with our kids now, right? Be a resource to those parents. Hey, here's 18 free activities going on in our community. Story time at the library, play date at this, bouncy house. This trampoline park has, happy hour at this time. So be a resource to those folks, okay? That is my number one suggestion. Create a Facebook group that you can provide value to, and every now and then, you can talk about your services as a real estate agent. But if you do your job correctly, you're adding value, that question is besides the point, okay? People are going to come to you. If you prove yourself to be an expert, to be helpful, to be a competent person, they're going to start coming to you, okay? So that's it, Roberto. Those are my top 2 strategies. Leverage the power of other people's Facebook groups and create your own Facebook group and start adding people to it every single day, and magical things will happen.
And one of the things before we leave, one of the things you mentioned that you cut off a bit on my end, not sure if you cut off and, to everybody else, but we tie this up to the first part of this.
Correct.
Series, right? Where you provide value in the group, but then because you already have an optimized profile, then you don't really have to tell or sell them real estate, right?
No, not really.
Exactly.
100%. You have your link to your website. You've got your bio that says, hey, I help people make their dreams come true with a new home. You've got a call to action in your cover page. You've got a link to your first-time homebuyer class, or your next one you're holding, a free webinar. My call to action was join my Facebook group, right? That was my big call to action. That's why the cover page is so important. People see that when they hover over your profile. They see it on desktop. They'll see your cover photo. Oh, what's this person about, right? They'll click on that. Who is this guy? Why is he saying something interesting? I want to know more about them. That's what we all do. Let's admit it, right? Someone's saying something we don't know, and they're teaching us something. I want to know who that guy is, because that answer, that response, that comment, that post was super interesting. And the same, I'm glad you mentioned that, Roberto. The same principle applies with what we talked about last week in creating engaging posts and questions, right? You can always ask real estate related questions that are not really about real estate. What would you change about the home you have right now? I love asking these questions. I don't want to say I'm a guru or a master, but nowadays, I'll drop a question, even in real closers. Let's be honest with this, right? I'll drop it in real closers, and my questions get 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 comments on them, right? Because they're interesting. I want to know your opinion. Half the time, I learn a lot of those things from those posts. At least I know what the reaction of what my target market is saying, thinking, feeling about that comment, that question, or that article I'm posting, right? You want to add value. If you want to see examples of adding value in a Facebook group, look at my post history here in Real Closers, and that's probably all you need, right?
And with that said, the questions that you're posting is not only helping you, but it's also helping you create even more content that's tailored to the people that are engaging with your content.
Absolutely. A quick example, 10-second example. I did a webinar last week on another Facebook group about Facebook leads, right? Converting Facebook leads. So I dropped a question in this group, actually. It was one of the groups I did this. Hey, what's been your experience with Facebook leads? And the floodgates open, right? Because I wanted to gauge that. How should I talk to my community about this topic? And the amount of frustration was enormous, right? With Facebook leads. There's a lot of frustration with them. And there's also a lot of acknowledgement that it's a grind. It takes a lot of work to convert them, right? They're relatively easy to generate, but man, that conversion system can be really lacking, right? So I was able to get those talking points from the community, okay? You should be doing the exact same thing. Drop interesting questions to gauge the feelings of your community, add value to the community, right? And in those threads, that was hilarious. I was essentially doing the job that marketers should be doing, because in those comments, in those back and forths, people would say, hey, I have a great solution to that. Can we talk? Sure. And they were connecting in my Facebook group thread. I thought, hey, that's awesome. That's amazing. They should be doing this as well, right? Asking questions, adding value, and then seeing who, if anyone, needs some help with that, right? I couldn't have come up with a better example myself. Check out those posts and let's see what I mean.
Exactly. And then remember, guys, this is part 2. We still have part 3 next week about how to get free leads from Facebook. If you're doing this consistently, like we talked over time, give it a good, 90 days, 180 days for this to start working for your business, and you'll get the results you want, but you have to be consistent. Yeah. All right, Gustavo, we'll see you next week.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody.
All right, have a good one.